Hey guys, this is Grandmother Brisket Podcast. Thank you. We welcome you into the podcast. This is one of the deals that we're closing out the end of the year. Everybody's kind of winding down. This is our time of the year where we're celebrating with our friends and families. We're definitely probably partaking a little too much with the libations, the alcohols.
Libation. That's the
spirits.
That is definitely that's the word of the day. Libation.
Libation. That's when you
like that.
You want to be like not politically correct, saying I'm just not getting drunk all the time.
Right.
I know. I thought the libations mean like I do it all the time. It's just a different point of view, I think.
So it's been a weird, I guess, week and a half. So we hadn't podcast in like maybe 2 weeks. We had this giant freeze that it's basically like snowpocalypse / polar vortex, whatever movie that you can like recommend. What's that one movie with that had like the day after tomorrow when all these like cyclones started going off? I feel like that's what kind of happened to Houston.
If you say that this was like the day after tomorrow for Texas, you're going to have like the rest of like the United States just hating us even more.
Houston,
you know what I mean?
Houston had it the worst out of the whole country. I think.
Sure.
So,
Right.
Yeah.
Right. We're just not built for it.
My plants are dead, okay?
Yeah.
You know what I had to suffer through?
Listen, first of all, y'all didn't suffer at all. I actually, my pipes froze.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually had frozen pipes, which I'm sure a lot of Americans did. But even then, I'm still like, well, it's only 17 degrees. It ain't that bad. Yeah. It could be worse. I have power, right? I had heat in my house. It was actually great.
Wind chill, it was 1.
Yeah. I saw the reports. I'm just saying.
But no, we didn't have it near as bad as the rest of the country. That
There was
got like
some
8
just
feet of snow.
Negative 40.
I had to put on an extra blanket on my bed when I went to sleep, okay? We suffered here.
Hey,
don't act like we didn't.
Do you know what that felt like when he woke up? It was sweaty. Not good, man.
All I can say is they're all going to laugh at us.
Yeah.
Right.
And they probably are all laughing at us here
Guess
being
what,
in
though?
the South.
But we're wearing flip-flops
Screw it.
today, and we're grilling, we're barbecuing.
75 degrees today.
Matt did a freaking pork butt today.
Oh, I need to go check on that.
There it is.
It's vented in my backyard right now, resting.
Matt did a pork butt today. This is what we do in Texas in December.
Yeah.
We flip-flop, and we jean short it and go.
A lot of people tune into the Grab of the Brisket to find out a little bit of the science of barbecue. But let me just break down a little bit of a science of just the weather. What's the terminology? Astrology?
No, you're breaking it down. You tell
what it's
us,
called?
James.
Astrology, that's your sign.
Astronomy.
That's what it's called.
Astronomy?
It's a proven fact that
joking.
weather
Meteorologist.
further to the coast is a lot more like the colder weather. It freezes harder when you're closer to the south. I don't know if you heard that term, hard freeze.
Hard freeze, okay.
I don't know if they utilize that up north.
Up north? Yeah, probably not.
But when you're down south and when it freezes, you get the hard freeze.
Wow. I mean, if you're in Texas, well then...
And
I
then
guess
all
you
your
know
pipes just burst. So there's probably a lot of people up north. It's like, well, I've never had a pipe burst over weather just freezing. Yeah. You haven't experienced a hard freeze like we have. So
yeah, all those people up in the Midwest and up in North, they got soft freezes.
Right.
Yeah.
They're out there. It's like 20
all
20
with
below.
their,
They're in shorts, drinking beer, just in the Midwest. Just like this is no big deal. It's not the hard freeze.
Yeah, and they have no humidity to help that cold. You know what I mean?
Well, it's because all their pipes are
cold.
wrapped.
Yeah, I think
They
there's
don't do that shit here.
there's a formula. It's like humidity with that square root sign with some type of like frozen hard freeze terminology. I don't make the science up. It is what it is. But hey, we all survived, and thank God. This year, I think 2 years ago, we all lost power, and that got a little sketch for us. But hey, this is Texas. We rebound and we move on and we get stronger. So power stayed on. We're all good.
Yeah. I will say this. I think probably the houses up north are probably built better at some point. Like there's more craftsmanship with all the unions up north where they have to like go through a whole trade system in order to do what they do, right? And then down south, we just like let anybody. Hey, what you build pools? Sounds good, right? You build houses? I'll take one. I mean, it's kind of how we do things around here, right? If there's no really
I don't
like
know about that, but
well, it is. Like anybody can be a general contractor.
that is true.
I mean, if you think about it, like, it's just weird. Okay, so maybe things were just maybe we just started people up north started building our shit down south. Maybe we'd be okay. You ever thought about that?
No. How dare you?
It was a foolish idea. I'm sorry. Let me go back. I'm just kidding.
Jan digresses, and we move on. Alex, so we hung out a little bit over the little holiday. You busted in that new char griller offset smoker that you had.
I did.
And mind you, the temperatures were swinging down a little bit low. So
17?
That was kind of a challenging type deal. Go ahead and talk a little bit about your experience with that thing.
Well, the hardest part was I couldn't find wood, like logs of wood, small enough to go in there, except for mesquite. And I was like, I don't want to smoke this whole brisket on mesquite. So I ended up buying like chunks of wood that were post oak, and it was just chewing through it.
You're loading it up. You're like, that'd be good for a little bit. You're like, okay, the temperatures.
And it was
burn that up.
When I was trying to keep the grill at like 275 is what I wanted to keep it at. The smoker wanted to run 300, and I fought it for like the first couple hours. I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. Do you want to run 300? Well, we're going to run 300.
Yeah.
Like I'm not fighting this anymore.
Who was that? We actually had a guy on. Who was that talked about letting the smoke? Was that Mo Cason? No, who was that?
I don't remember who that
There
was.
was.
I remember the conversation.
I'll go back.
Yeah.
The premise was I'll go back and I want to give credit where credit's due. I'm saying, but the biggest thing was letting the smoker cook the way it wanted to. Don't fight the smoker. Right?
Well, I did for about the first 2 hours.
Right. Yeah, but lesson learned, right? So at least you adapted and moved. And you say you accepted versus people. Some people will just know it has to be 225 for 12 to 15. You know what I mean? That whole robot. You're like, dude, I get you wrote that. You read that same article or whatever else. But at the end of the day, your smoker has a limitation. It wants to do what it wants to do, and it's built for a certain way. And I think you have to let it go. Like, and yours want to be at 300.
There was no way I could have run this at 225. Like, it would just snuff out at 225.
Right. It wouldn't.
So.
The coals would have never carried over.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
So it ended up being pretty good. I mean, ended up with a killer fucking smoke ring on it, which I was surprised it came out that well, but it was good.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah. You also mentioned like you were sore the next day.
Oh yeah, I was sore as shit because I'm steadily having to feed this fucking fire like all day.
You're up and down, and down.
So I had the meat probe in there.
How long of a cook?
It was 12 hours.
A 12-hour cook, which means you probably have a 2-hour. You have a 2-hour prep time. Is that about right? Right, and then you have a 2-hour rest time.
Yeah. Well,
This day for you is got to be close to a 16-hour day just to eat some meat.
Yeah. Well, I trimmed the night before.
Okay.
So then I woke up in the morning, seasoned it, let it sit for a little while, went out there, fired it up, got some coals going.
16 hours.
Actual time on the pit was 12 hours. Yeah. But it was a big brisket before I trimmed it. It was 21 pounds.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah. Good for you, man.
So it was...
How was it?
It ended up being good. It was pretty tasty.
Yeah.
I didn't eat it... Well, I didn't eat it that day because it was for the following day.
Yeah, so you pre-cooked
I cooked it
right?
and then reheated it in the oven, which it still turned out really juicy.
Yeah.
It was pretty good, wasn't it?
Everybody's like, dang, dude.
It was pretty good for my first solo brisket, like all by myself.
Yeah. Fuck yeah.
I mean, I probably cooked 100 briskets with as many like benefits and everything we've done. But that was the first one I've actually done like by myself.
Yeah.
Nice.
Good for you, man.
Hell yeah. Hey, we're talking a little bit at so every pit's different. So when you start off from the bottom, I say bottom rung.
It's an entry level smoker.
Yeah, you get a smoker that's $200-300 or a couple $100. Very thin metal. The firebox, the airflow is probably not the same as you get on these very expensive pits.
You're right though, but I think these companies could do a better job as far as looking, not like what's popular or whatever else, because obviously that's not the thing. And I'm sure that Char Grill tested whether or not this smoker was going to have enough flow or anything else. But don't you think it does kind of matter where that exhaust comes down at and how far it comes down and everything else? Because
I think that and the size of the smokestack, and I think a lot of these pits miss on, and it's not necessarily they're missing on purpose. A lot of it comes down to material cost. A lot of these times they use these sheet metal type stuff because it is very cheap, and you can build a pit and put it out there. And they're not necessarily designed to be long-term smokers for pork butts or briskets or whatever it is.
They burn out quick.
Because they will burn out quick. It's a good smoker to be able to cook chicken, smoke some ribs, that type of stuff. But like you're saying, you fight the fire. It's always a constant battle, and it's swinging up, swinging down. So you have that issue. The more expensive pits that have the thicker gauge material that are able to hold the heat a little bit longer,
insulated firebox,
you don't fight it as much.
Which we can put some bricks in there.
Well, part of the problem
for years
was trying to find the right size logs to go in there, and I couldn't
because the firebox is too small.
The firebox is small, and the ones that I could find that would fit in there were mesquite.
Yeah.
So the post oak that I did find
was just chunked.
Was small chunks.
Yeah.
So that's partially on me. That's all I could find. So I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. I'll just feed this bitch all day.
Yeah. Well,
and that's what I did.
I mean, listen. There's people out there that have char grills right now that are cooking on these type of pits. And please, if you got one, tell us what you're doing. And maybe it's just the way our logs are split down here, and weren't able to get a hold of any good dense, good sized logs or something. But in your case, there's a bunch of people that have these pits that are trying to cook a brisket on it and facing the same challenges. You're like, yeah, I went and bought some wood, but I couldn't get one freaking log to fit in the damn firebox.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
And I was worried about, like, with feeding it that many little chunks, the wood is steadily lighting. So you're steadily getting, like, the dirty smoke coming out.
In. Yeah, you want that good even.
And I was surprised it didn't transfer to the meat. I was worried it would.
Yeah.
But it didn't.
Always feed
it. Gave it a hell of a smoke ring.
I bet it did.
But I was worried about dirty smoke taste.
Yeah. I know Matt had that same challenge as well. The one prior to you getting the Oklahoma Joe, you had that one before. I don't know if it was a char griller or if it was...
it was like a new bronze field or something. But
correct.
I don't think they're in business anymore.
You had the same issue to where it was just like constant, like, fighting the fire to either stay up in temperature or it was just like way low in temperature. And what was one of the things that you did to kind of combat, like, keep that thing running?
I think I had a fan, and I pointed the fan right at the firebox in that little vent there, just to keep a constant, like, air blowing into that thing.
It's just a constant circulation.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, that's what it needed. It would shoot through wood, but it was the only way to keep my temperature.
But in your case, your exhaust may have been too small.
Yeah, and it's also the thing was like
it's all
nothing
right?
sealed on it right. There was smoke leaking out of it. It's thin metal, so
yeah. There's like smoke leaking out everywhere.
Yeah,
it's like
I never worried. Like if I see a leaky smoker, like to me, I'm not worried about the smoke. I'm worried about the heat loss.
Yeah,
the actual smoke. I feel like I feel like the meat's getting plenty of smoke.
On that one, the lid didn't sit flush.
Yeah,
where it goes down the firebox. So there's holes big enough where the heat's coming out. Of the
you're
firebox.
Just losing heat.
Yeah,
yeah. So I get all of that, right? People talk about like, oh, that's a leaky smoker. And you're like, no, I'm sorry, is it smoking?
Yeah, if there's plenty of smoke coming out the stack, then you're getting plenty
good,
of smoke
brother,
on the meat.
right? Yeah. And I think where pits fall short sometimes, they don't have a big enough exhaust, Or, and I'll be devil's advocate because I think that sometimes certain barbecue pits get too big of a stack, and the exhaust is too much, and you
Drawing
don't,
like
and
crazy.
you don't get the same radiant heat that you would normally get with, let's say, a small smoker that's on my trailer, right? Versus what's on John's trailer, and I think that is a certain thing. Like I think you could probably narrow those things down to like 4-inch pipe versus a 6-inch, and be just as good with a baffle on it or with a topper or something. But like that's a for me. I think a lot of people face that, and I'm not even sure if they even know. Like they just like, oh no, it should take 15 hours. You're like, we could do it in 12.
Yeah. I mean, that's probably an episode that we need to really sit down and think about and discuss as far as the manufacturing of these bits, and the nuances that go in to how things work. Like you're saying, the smokestack on these pits is very pivotal to how this thing draws.
That's right.
And operates. So you're moving oxygen. I mean, that's the key of the game. It's like you got the firebox at the end. It's burning. You want to move that smoke in, and you want it to draw and move out.
Yeah, but I think that the people got they concentrated so much on clean smoke, right? And the bigger the exhaust, the better the fire will burn and it moves through.
Yeah.
Yes, I think you're correct, but there's a fine line in there that you're running with. It's like
Could be.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah. It's a
Too
very
much
clean
flow.
smoke,
Too much
but
flow. You're just pulling too hard, and
that's right.
You're not getting any smoke. It's just like you're just a convection of it. You're just pulling heat.
Basically, yes, but it's taking longer to cook.
Yep.
Also, right? So when I think when you can stifle it just a little bit,
Yep.
and that was the whole premise of the back in the day was that having it roll in, all the heat rises, right, and it pushes down, and finding that opening to go out and exhausting, right? And I think it's why when Gene built our pit, like I think he kind of knew that a little bit.
Right. He's
like, no, this is going to go great level, and he went great level with the exhaust. So it means the exhaust is sitting down at the very, very bottom of where the meat will be, which no matter what, it has to funnel back down and back up. For us, it's always done really, really, really well.
Right. I think you just gave away $1 million idea right there, and you just didn't know it. Uncle Gene's Pit's trademarked.
There it is.
So
at least by the time you hear this, it will be.
Exactly. So let's get into, would you guys rather go into the beer review or get into the actual smoking woods?
Let's do the beer review first. That way I have something to
cut
do
it
while
up.
you're monologuing.
Let's cut it up.
Yeah.
Let's break up the monotony and just like cut
The
it.
menage's
No,
knees.
definitely not. Yeah.
Okay.
That's not the word? Nope.
Menage knees.
Menagerie?
All right, hey, let's slide into the grabbing the brisket.
Beer review.
What'd you bring us?
I'll be honest, that gets more magical every time I hear it, guys. Hey, I brought a St. Arnold's lawnmower. So this is one I think we've already done before, but
Possibly.
I think we're going to start revisiting some of these beers that we've done in the very beginning just to see where things have
Gonna
changed.
rescore them?
Our palates have changed over the year, over the year and a half that we've started doing this type deal. So
Did you hear that noise?
let's get it.
There it is.
It was crisp.
It was
There it
crisp.
Yeah.
So what style is this?
I actually don't know. This is
It's got to be a lager.
Yeah, so first off, this is Texas' oldest craft brewery. We got St. Arnold's Brewery. This is the Fancy Lawnmower, refreshing outdoor beer. So when I saw this can originally, before me ever even trying it, and my dislike for IPAs and their grass clipping type beers that just taste like pine needles, I saw this all the time, and I was like, I'm not going to like this because it literally just tastes like grass clippings.
You thought it was IPA.
I thought it was an IPA, and I was like, I'm not going to drink it or whatever. And I think Bennett, my brother-in-law, kudos to him. He always brings it over, and I tried it, and I was like, this is pretty good. I'm not mad at this. Let me go ahead and just give this thing. But the St. Arnold's Brewing, it's a top-notch place.
Yeah. There's a reason it's been around for so long now.
Correct.
Yeah, it's a good brewery. They put out good product.
The can's good. It's like, looks like somebody in the back of this sun that's like actually like mowing.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like a gnome.
Then you have the flamingo and all the yard type stuff.
Soccer ball and
Like, what's in his hand though? It looks like a beer. Like it's on a what is that?
Flamingos. Hey, do you know what's
on top of the beer?
Do you know what color a flamingo is when it's born?
No,
It's not pink. Is it white?
I think it's white. I think it's
Yeah.
like tannish white.
dude, it's holding a guy with a lawn, and a dude's mowing on top of that lawn.
oh, he's just
Do you
put his
see
arm
that?
out there. He's not holding the lawn.
Yes, no, he's holding a lawn. There's a dude with a lawn mower. That's grass, bro. Do you see it?
It's in the background though.
That's grass. That's a dude with a lawnmower.
He's not holding that. It's in the background of his arm.
His hand is above the.
No. That's what 4 glasses of wine.
I was going to say how many lawnmowers you drank already.
6 beers with you. So.
Well, this is a Kolsch, not an IPA.
This is a
So there
Kolsch.
you go.
Okay.
And I love this beer. This is to
gonna
me.
try
This
it.
is like one of my easy drinking craft beers. You know what I mean?
Oh, for sure. It's definitely a lighter craft.
Yeah. So this is a very introductory beer to getting into craft beer, right?
It is.
Honestly, I mean, like, if you don't like this beer, then go back to Miller Lite.
Yeah, just
for a
go
little
back.
bit.
Just don't go any farther.
Go back to
You're
Miller
not gonna
Lite.
like the rest.
Yeah. And then
And this beer's been out for like what, close to 20 years.
I want to say it's probably one of the first ones they did.
that's what I'm saying. Like, it was their very first style of beer to get people to like other beers, type deal, right?
And I've been to their brewery. It's kind of cool. I don't know if you've ever seen it on the shelves. They'll have it's just like the same can, but it'll have lawnmower crossed out, and it'll say weed whacker. Like it looks like it's pasted over it.
Yeah.
And I found out the brewery, so that's the stills where they're brewing the lawnmower. Like the very bottom of it that kind of collects all the sediment and everything. That's where they pull and make the weed whacker out of. And I think it just has like,
Okay.
it's got like a little more flavor in it and everything because it's all that stuff that kind of comes out at the very bottom of it. So
That's
I
like
would say-
a lot of breweries do that. So, I lost my train of thought there. But Keystone, I think there's some breweries like the bottom of whether it's Anheuser-Busch or whatever it is, but whether they're making like just say Bud Light, the very bottom of that whatever, that's what they make Keystone
Oh, okay.
out of.
Yeah.
And I'm lying. I don't know what it's called, but I know it does diminish in quality a little bit. I'm sure it's not the same thing with the
Yeah.
St. Arnold's
It's
and
not
the
just
Weed Whacker
water
or
or
whatever
rice
it
or
is.
whatever the
Yeah.
hell Bud Light's made out of.
Right. Rice water.
All right, well, I'll go ahead and score this first.
Go for it.
I'm going to give...
Listen, just remember, Matt, this is a 90-second beer review.
Yeah, right. So I've had the Lawnmower before where it tasted better. I would have given this like a 9 before, but for this particular can we're having, I'm going to give it 8.5.
Dude, that's a good
Love
score.
it.
But I think that you're being kind of a...
I'm being stingy?
Yeah.
You think I'm being stingy with the score?
No, I think you should go up. I think you should score it the way you want to score it, and
I scored it the way I want to score it.
well, you did
If I
8.5.
had a better can, it'd been the 9s like I've had in the past. But this can, 8.5.
All right, I'm gonna try it. James,
Yeah. Maybe it sat on the shelf for just a little too long. We'll never know.
Yeah, it only gets an 8.5. Sorry,
Right.
you know.
yeah, for me, I'm there with you. I'm at an 8.8. I think this beer is really good. I take a drink of it. I keep waiting for the staleness to happen. Like I feel like there's going to be a staleness, and I think I'm already kind of gotten there a little bit, and that's why I'm thinking. I've had this before, and it's been better, and I do agree with you because it's almost that cracker taste, right? And this is on the cusp of having almost that cracker, like just like it's kind of weird. It's kind of just like you know. Great beer, 8.8. I could drink probably 12 of these tonight.
Easy.
So I'm just saying. Yeah. Let's go, motherfuckers.
No, they're good. Like it's kind like you feel like it's going to be a full body when you first take a sip, and then there's no aftertaste.
Just smooth. Right? It just ends.
Crispy.
Yeah.
And it's good. Like
it's a perfect example right there.
Like you take a sip and you're waiting for something to hit the back end, and then there's nothing though.
Yeah, it's just like and you're like, well, let me figure out what that was.
It's like drinking a light beer, but with flavor.
Yeah, right. With more flavor. Yeah, 100%.
So I enjoy it. I think y'all like it a little bit more than I do. I'm going 8.3.
There it is. All right.
And then there was James.
And then there was James. I'd love to give this a solid number, like just a very solid score.
You gonna be able to help yourself?
But honestly, I wanted to give it a little bit better than an 8.0. So I'm gonna go 9.
Oh,
wow!
Okay, wow, the highest out of all of us. Wow.
Yes,
Okay.
Nice.
it's a good beer.
It is a good beer. It's a good solid beer.
Well, James, you want to exit us out of
Close out the grabbing the brisket.
beer review? Let's get some more St. Arnold's in here.
Let's do it.
This episode is brought to you in part by Oklahoma Joe's new Ryder Deluxe pellet grills.
Since the company's humble beginnings in 1987, Oklahoma Joe has helped those who appreciate the process and the craft of smoking.
What began with Joe Davidson, a member of the Barbecue Hall of Fame, and a dozen hand-built smokers at the Oklahoma State Fair over 30 years ago, has since forged an Oklahoma Joe's brand that builds some of the most sought-after smokers.
Oklahoma Joe has a proud history of creating uncompromising smokers and grills with carefully crafted design, and the newest generation of the popular Ryder Series pellet grills carries on this tradition.
The new features in the Oklahoma Joe's Ryder Deluxe pellet grills include a Pit Control 2.0 system that delivers the category's first dual-sensor temperature control.
Fire-focused dual-sensor feedback optimizes temperature control based on selected cooking styles, low and slow smoking, or high-heat grilling.
A power feed system that boasts the high-torque auger motor that powers through pellets for incredible power and performance.
The new Ryder Deluxe series builds on several popular features, including smoke and sear modes, which features an impressive temperature range that runs from 200 degrees Fahrenheit to a searing hot 650 degrees Fahrenheit, and a 20-pound quick-draw hopper that allows unused pellets to be drained in seconds for simple storage, removal, and swapping of pellet flavors. Guys, if you want to find out more information about the new Ryder Deluxe series pellet grills from Oklahoma Joe, check out the Oklahoma Joe's website, and the link is in our description in the bio, and that's oklahomajoes.com.
This is Beer in Front. Every week I'll talk about a beer that maybe we've forgotten along the way while we get those check-ins and badges. Being the Chicago beer guy, I'll also talk about great craft beer in the city of Chicago. And remember, sometimes the beer in front of you is the best one yet. That's Beer in Front, part of the Odd Pods Media Network.
Hey, Grabbing the Brisket podcast, sponsored by St. Arnold's Brewery.
That would be wonderful.
Let's go. So as a new series that we're actually not new series, as we go along, talk a little bit about brisket and the different types of woods that we smoke with. There's a few things that I jotted down that I sent to you guys. So different types of woods that you can use to smoke with, and I'm not talking about the flavors of wood. I'm talking about different types of wood. Mm-hmm. This is all wood. So number one, off the bat, you have the logs. Stepping down from that, you have the chunks, chips, sawdust. I don't know what you're cooking with sawdust, but this...
Don't cook with sawdust.
Do not cook with sawdust. You have discs. I've seen certain types of smokers that has like a almost like pellets, where you just put these discs in there, and it sits there and feeds the firebox with these discs. Hey, I'm not mad at that. Hey, you do you. And then from there, it goes to pellets.
Now, have you ever smoked with chips? Like that's like people who have like a propane, they want to get some smoke in there, right? And they make the little tray with the chips. I've never done that before.
I've done that like in the very beginning of my smoking type
Nobody ever
career.
did that, bro.
Yeah.
Nobody even cared. I never did. I was like,
First of all,
not doing that.
do not soak your wood chips in water.
Yeah, no, of course you do.
No,
Yes,
no, never.
100%.
Why would you do that? Like,
Because you're not looking. You want a slower burn time on it.
True.
If you want a smoldery smoke, right? But you're talking about smokers that don't. People that are utilizing instruments like that, they're not smoking on an offset. You know what I mean? It's a way to introduce a smokiness to that, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I think you should do that if you don't have the means to have the real deal. You know what I mean?
well, I think if you're using wood chips, you're not smoking a brisket.
Yeah, it's like
No, you are.
you want to get a little smoky flavor in your steak. I thought that you'd be using that.
You are. See, that's the misconception about smoking briskets. The misconception is like, so this is why it's been such a novelty in the last like probably 15 years or 10 years, right? It's this method that everybody sold. These companies like came in, master built. All these companies came in and said, you can get this brisket if you buy this type of barbecue pit, right? It wasn't until like Aaron Franklin came on television and said, no, you're going to have a 1,000-gallon smoker outside, and you're going to smoke it at 225 degrees, and you're going to rotate these briskets every whatever, and you're only going to maintain this. And once they saw what it looked like and the bark came off, and they're like, oh my God, I never saw something like that before. Like, how many times do you have somebody come downtown and said, damn, this is the best brisket I ever had in my life. What did you do this on? Was this on? And they look over and like, no, I did on that. They're like, oh my God, look at that. That barbecue pit. And it's a small barbecue pit. They look at it and go, oh my God, that's a huge barbecue pit. And you're like, okay, you live in an apartment. You're on a back patio. You have one little thing. So the ideal equipment is a master build. That's what they have. So once you realize that the mass populace have been fed a lie, right? And they've been fed to eat shitty barbecue their entire life. And then once they have really good barbecue, it changes their world. This is how it happens.
Yes. No, I agree with you 100%. But I don't know how we got off from talking about using chips.
Yes, because that's
smoking chips.
That's what it is. Because that's you can listen. If you're,
all I can
you're
tell you,
never going to make good barbecue on a smoking chip freaking pit.
all I can tell
Not
you,
gonna happen.
my personal experience in using chips, it smokes up really quick.
Yeah.
You get that smoke really quick, but if you keep using it over and over and over again, your barbecue is going to be very just bitter and dirty smoke.
That's what I'm saying. But this is the mentality that people have had across the masses going, this is good barbecue. And you're like, this is not good barbecue.
Oh, wait, so you're saying that they think that they're making good barbecue by using chips?
Exactly.
Okay, now I'm with you. I was trying real hard to stay with you that
bringing
whole
it.
time.
This is
All right, I got you.
this is the con.
I thought
that has
Jam was
been-
on the side.
I
of
know,
that. You
that's
can
what I
just
thought,
cook
too.
Great barbecue with cooking chips.
You can cook with cooking chips.
You can.
Yeah.
You
Yes.
can make any meal, but you're not going to make great barbecue, and that's the difference, right?
Yeah, I thought chips is like if I'm cooking a steak or a piece of salmon and I want to
If you
introduce
want
a little
something
bit
hot,
of the smokiness
100%.
to it, throw some chips in there.
Fish,
Yes.
100%. It translates so well, but not for like red meats or really porks.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you guys. So let's get a little bit into the flavors, the actual flavors of wood. Literally, like go outside of your yard and you can sit there and see all the different flavors of wood that you could sit there and smoke with.
You could, but should you?
Yeah, I'm not going to go out there and chop
Exactly.
down my China berry and start smoking meats on it. So
Right. Well, And so and that'll get us into like the most popular common types of woods. And all right, so the top wood choices for barbecue, let me just read off. A lot of these I've never cooked with. So top from bottom, not saying best from least or whatever it is. We got alder, apple, cherry, guava, and maple.
Wait, I'm sorry. That's where it ends?
No.
Oh, okay.
Or if
This is alphabetical order.
I think this is going from light woods all the way down to
Okay.
very like strong woods.
Okay, gotcha.
I've never cooked with alder. I've never cooked with guava.
I think I have alder chips, or sorry, alder pellets from the pellet smoker. I think I got some Traeger auger, whatever it's called, alder. And
I've never even heard of that.
yeah, and I didn't like the flavor of it. I was just using whatever chips I had, and I think I was trying to cook the wrong thing. It's probably for like fish or something light.
It does. It says it's a light flavor for seafood.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. I was using the wrong thing because that's all I had.
A lot of these woods are not good. We've been talking about a brisket for quite some time. A lot of these woods are not good for brisket because they are very light, mellow type of woods.
Definitely never cooked with guava wood before.
Right. On to the next. We have peach, pecan, hickory, mesquite, and oak.
Yeah. Everything but peach I've cooked with.
No apple.
Apple was on the beginning, right?
Yeah.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very mild. A lot of these very mild woods are great for pork, chicken, and seafood. Very mild. Because you don't really want like a harsh smoke flavor. If you're doing like, I don't know, we'll say some mussels or some type of like whatever. You don't. If you put some mesquite on them, it's like it's just not going to taste great.
Yeah, but I don't know if I know mesquite can be considered harsh, but have you ever had a piece of mesquite cooked food and said, "Oh, this might be too much"?
I started with mesquite on the brisket. I did,
and it gets a bad rap, I think, but.
Well, I think a lot of it's subjective.
I don't know if it does. Like, I think that people don't cook with mesquite enough. Like,
I started with a couple logs.
It's such a good smelling piece of wood when burned.
but I didn't want to use it for the whole cook because it can be overpowering.
Yeah, but you know that because people have said that. But like, how much mesquite wood smoked have you had to go? Ugh. And I fall in the same boat with you because I say it all the time. I'm like, well, maybe that's. But have you or no?
No, I've never cooked with it through a whole cook for brisket.
That's the thing. It's like maybe,
the reason I started with it was like that was the wood that I found that would fit in the fucking firebox.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was like, I want to get some. I put some charcoal down first, some lump charcoal.
Yeah, get it going.
And then like, I had this mesquite too, and I'm like, well, I'm gonna turn this into lump charcoal also. But it burned really slow and really long. I'm like, well, fuck it. I'm just gonna throw the brisket on, and we're gonna get a little mesquite on this motherfucker.
Like it's not a sleeper wood because I know we know about it. I think it's sleeper wood for everybody else in America, right?
It's probably just regional, right?
It's regional.
I think very regional.
A lot of
wood,
people,
you're
that's
right.
all they use.
It's from here all the way throughout Mexico and the migration of cattle and everything else. That's how it happened, right? But I'm telling you right now, it's a sleeper wood that people think it's too harsh. Some of the best steaks in my life came off of that.
Well, it's all going to be subjective for sure, 100%. Yeah. Anybody that's listening to this, like, I love mesquite. I can tell you right now for sure, I've cooked a brisket on 100% hickory. That turned out like ass. It tasted like shit. I'm not going to lie. And maybe it's the wood I got, but it was all hickory. I was like, this tastes so smoky and just weird. I was like, I'll never cook with this in my life. I will do smaller cooks, and I've done smaller cooks with hickory or whatever. Maybe it's the same thing with mesquite with other people. I love mesquite cooking with other woods. I love mesquite grilling on an open flame or whatever. Love it. I've never done a brisket on fully 100% mesquite. I'll try it. I'll do it. But I know I did that
I've cooked
hickory,
brisket on
and that
all
was
mesquite.
just straight up garbage.
I've done brisket on mesquite. I had no difference.
Yeah.
I was not going to.
It burned clean. It burned hot. Like it was a true temperature. I actually like cooking mesquite.
It wasn't bad starting out with, and like, then once I wrapped it, at that point it doesn't fucking matter what
Doesn't
you throw on
matter.
there.
So basically,
That's when I went back and like I had a whole lot of mesquite, and I'm like,
So Alex just
There we
cooked his
go.
First,
Well, see, of
all
course,
mesquite.
I had barbecue growing up, and some people in my family cooked barbecue, but it wasn't until I moved here and was hanging out with James all the time, him cooking.
Yeah.
So basically, for me, it's like oak is just everything because that's just what I learned from James, and everything else is like an accent wood.
Yeah.
Like, I can throw like a little bit of this on top of the oak to give it a little bit different, but
Yeah.
that's just what I've picked up now because I've just been cooking around James for so damn long.
All right. Well, let's get off. Let's get into the
Let's
woods
get
that you
off.
don't want to cook with.
Let's get off and let's get
Let's
off and let's get in. So,
Yeah,
right.
Jan's been trying to get off this whole time.
damn it, I have been.
Yeah. Some of the woods that you don't want to cook off.
Are you wanting us to guess?
Yeah.
Okay.
Guess.
pine.
Yeah, we know pine.
100% ding, 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 ding. Anything that says pine,
Right.
That's
done.
how you get sick.
Do not.
Beside your cedar planks, don't
Right.
do it.
I can always, I love the one time I was like over here, and shout out to Scott, used to be our ex-neighbor.
Law Dog Scott.
We were starting a fire. We're like, I guess I ran out of like fire starters. He's like, it's great, I got it. He goes and rustles up like a shit ton of pine needles and like pine cones and leaves and just tosses it into the Weber, and it's like lights it up. It's like, there you go. I'm like, I'm in danger. He's like, it's okay. I used to be a forest ranger, so I'm
Yeah.
like, okay.
Yeah.
I used to prevent forest fires, but
I had a guy in college, like we were cooking steaks on like an old smoky, and everybody's throwing their own steaks on. One guy comes up, he's like, "Hey, I brought my own wood that I want to smoke mine with," and it was fucking pine. And like, bro, if you're going to use that, you're going last.
Yeah, right.
Like, no, nobody's going to eat that. Like, you're going to get sick.
right. My grandpappy used to cook with this right here. This is what I'm using.
And we let him eat it. Like, we let him do it and fucking
Oh, jeez.
eat it. And I mean,
It's probably listen.
he was
oak-
live the next day, so I guess it was okay.
It's not. Yeah, you're not. First of all, it's you can do it. It's just isn't there like a turpentine or something inside?
There's a
pine?
resin.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Right? Isn't that how
this article that I found, never under any circumstance use eastern cedar,
Okay.
Yeah.
cypress elm. I think there's a comma there. Cypress, elm, eucalyptus, sassafras, liquid amber, pine, redwood, fir, spruce, or sycamore
What about
for
mulberry?
smoky meats. These trees are high in resin and oils that cause thick smoke when lit, which can cause all sorts of dangerous situations and health consequences.
It makes sense, right?
Yeah, I thought those were like super sappy kind of
yeah.
trees, you know.
They feel like that, right?
Yeah.
Even
And
pine,
like pine
does,
is super
right?
sappy.
So
Yeah, contain
shouldn't
a
even
lot of
burn that in your
toxins and
fireplace.
chemicals that can transfer from the wood into your food as you cook it.
yeah.
There you go.
I
Is
had
what
somebody
it is.
try to give me a whole bunch
Don't
of mulberry
do it.
to smoke with, and I was like, I don't know. I've never used that, and I don't know anybody who's used that, so
The
Thanks,
snozberries
but,
taste like snozberries.
no thanks.
Wouldn't be prudent.
Yeah, it's like I was saying, oak pretty
This
much all the
junction.
time. I've cooked on pecan, and I was like, okay,
Yeah.
I wish it's because I didn't have oak. You know what I mean? And I've used some fruit woods like cherry and apple before, and I thought that went pretty good with some like pork I was cooking.
Yeah.
But
It
pretty
did
much
go-
it's like
it did go well.
Yeah, I just feel like with oak, it's like just goes with everything, and I'm always safe if I just use
Yeah.
oak.
So and there's a difference, right? So white oak versus red oak. And there is a difference, and people were like, all I got some red oak over here. I'm like, ugh. Do you got any?
You got any posts?
Can I get this, or maybe I can get a mixture or something? You know, and maybe not go all the way. I grab a little mesquite, maybe grab a little pecan, and they give me a little bit of red oak or something. But typically, if you want neutral, it's a white oak. The white oak is a very neutral burning wood. It's dense. It just works, and that's why it does well.
We should do an experiment and grab one of each log and cook a brisket with it.
I want to see Jan cook
Everyone
a
we
brisket
just talked
on a
about.
propane smoker using only wood chips.
I do.
It's just to see if you can do it. See how it comes out. I can do it.
I can do it.
Of course I can do it.
I 100% can do it.
Do you soak your wood chips in water?
No, I do it in whiskey. But I'm a fucking maniac. So
Texas whiskey.
Yeah, we see a lot, before we close out, we see a lot of people soaking their wood chips in water because they feel like that's going to prolong the smoke.
Right.
It smokes longer.
It smolders.
Smolders. Yeah, there's a lot more white billowing smoke coming out of this thing. Do you see how much smoke I'm getting out of this? Like, soak all the wood chips forever.
Hey, you know, all these 5-star Michelin chefs, they're sitting back and they're like, they have those little smoke guns, right? Or they're burning the wood chips and they're sucking it down their tubes. And the whole time you're like, great, you just introduced dirty smoke to your fucking $50 duck.
Carcinogens. I just paid $50 for this whiskey.
Yeah, they're doing that with the whiskey drinks now. Putting a little dome with the.
If he want to be creative and literally want to be creative, motherfucker would went outside to a smoker that he been going all day, right? Only for that one moment, and placed that one single dish inside of that smoker and let it smoke for 10 minutes and pulled it. And instead, you went the cheap route with some cheap plastic
Smoke
snuffer. You know what I mean? And I'm like, dude, get the fuck out of here. And you think that's 5-star?
Yeah.
This is what's wrong with the fucking reality.
Well, it's because you do it in front of them, so it's like a show.
Hey, it looks good. Hey, guess what? When I drag you outside of the smoker outside, you're going to think it's a 5-star show.
Right. Hey,
you know what I mean?
Well, they don't have a smoker outside.
Bro,
keep your crank away from me.
That's what's wrong with the fucking reality with the cooking around here. Let's be honest.
Well, good stuff, James.
Let's be honest. Like, this has been
Good
an
stuff,
awesome
Matt.
Grabbing the Brisket podcast. And honestly, guys, I've enjoyed talking barbecue with you.
Thanks, everybody. We've been great.
I have nothing to say besides, Alex.
Smoke on.
Shit. Fuck it.
Dang it, Bobby. Just grab the brisket. We'd like to give a special thanks to Sucklebusters barbecue rubs and sauces, Bolner's Fiesta spices, CoolieNation custom koozies, Cambro Manufacturing, YETI Coolers, the Smoke Sheep Barbecue newsletter, and Dalstrong knives. We definitely appreciate your support.